theory about why she's naked, but we're not there.
Okay. But it also doesn't, to me, mean something like some ne'er-do-well came on the ship and stripped her naked.
I agree. I also agree with that. It doesn't mean that to me. So we've now addressed the pirate theory. We've addressed the lead investigator's theory that something happened. Somebody followed them from Presque Isle. The other thing that I want to talk about is that this is relatively similar to the chucks a drunken fool and knocks her overboard, is that it's believed that he may have gone over because he was a bumbling fool, not drunk, but a klutzy guy, and goes over, and as she's throwing the PFDs at him, and she can't get him to get them, and she throws the rope to him, and he gets to the boat. Now, why she doesn't drop the swim ladder, I don't know, but she doesn't, and instead reaches down to give him a hand, and as she's trying to pull him onto the boat, he inadvertently pulls her over.
I mean...
Or it's the other way around. It's he does all this while she's in the water.
Or, I mean, he goes over, she throws some PFDs in. It's not working. She goes, I'm a strong swimmer. I can save him. And she jumps in after him.
But he was also a strong swimmer, too.
Maybe he's floundering. I mean, you can be a strong swimmer and have one thing go wrong. It can happen.
The thing that her family always points to say that this can't be the case is, again, boater safety had been drilled into her for so long. And boater safety says, no matter how bad it is, the pilot doesn't get off the friggin' boat, because as soon as you get off the boat is gone.
Yeah.
You're right.
And now you're boat stranded in the water.
You're in Mary Celeste territory.
Boater safety is very important. But... Steve, look me in the eye and tell me that if your wife was floundering overboard and the only option you thought to save her was to jump in after her, you'd be like, I'm the pilot, I gotta stay on the boat.
Yeah, I got life insurance.
Yeah, exactly.
I got life insurance on her.
I just mean, so while our reports, they're happy, they're in love, they've been together for a couple years, I would jump in after my boyfriend. And I know boater safety.
Well, no, the thing about it is that number one, there were no signs of trauma. It's like, say, if she fell overboard, there were no knocks on the head or anything like that. She was
in my theory, he fell
overboard.
Okay, sure.
We'll leave it either way.
I can see that. Okay, so he fell overboard. He's drowning, but she still knows enough to stop the boat and maybe head back towards him.
Yeah.
But I see what you're talking about. The problem I have with this is that I guess she could have panicked and just dove overboard to rescue him, but you would think she would have put the ladder down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
exactly
my
point.
Thinking.
You would think, but again, I mean, Steve says this all the time. That's thinking rationally.
Well, yeah, she's a chick, I know.
The person that you love...
No, Joe, cut it out.
The person that you love, you're watching them drown. You're watching that person die.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Are you going to be like bladder?
But you have a fast, maneuverable thing called a boat that you can turn around and get to him and chuck the rope at him and hook him with the rope and try and pull him up.
Maybe she tried that and it didn't work.
Maybe he was unconscious. Maybe he banged his head and he was like, but still, you would think that she would be rational enough to,
I literally don't
bring the boat around close.
That I would,
put the ladder down and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's my problem. And okay, well, let's just say that she does. Okay, so part of this is that one of them, let's say it's him in the water, he accidentally pulls her overboard. What I don't get is why she wouldn't kick the swim ladder over as she's reaching down to pull him up.
Well, no, I mean, trying to pull him up from the well of the boat is asinine anyway. Why would she would kick the ladder down, climb down to the swim platform, and grab him from there?
Right, climb down.
This is a really big boat, you guys. You're like saying as if like it's just like right there. She could just reach her leg over and kick the thing down.
This boat has two couches.
Great. How long are they?
Two small couches.
But how long are they?
Okay, it's probably the size of my couch, which is like a 6 or 7 foot couch. They're small couches with seats on the ends, and then, I mean, if you look at the schematics of these boats, half of it is the well, so they're not big things. It's not like she has to run 100 yards to get to the back of the boat.
I'm not saying 100 yards, but I'm also saying you missed the thing and he's pulling you over. It's not like it's right there and you have a couple tries.
But you pull somebody back onto the boat at the lowest point of the boat, which is the swim platform.
Yes, But
so if you're at the swim platform, you knock the ladder over saying, hey, dummy, climb up the swim ladder.
But so what if he falls overboard and he grabs onto you for stability and you both go over? You can't just kick the ladder.
But I don't think that he could have reached her from the water, from the well easily. We're going down rabbit holeville. We have gone so far down the rabbit hole, you two.
Yeah, no,
we're so far off track.
No, the bottom line is there are a lot of ways that you can accidentally go overboard on a boat. You know? And it happens all the time.
It does.
Yeah, there go ships.
So let's move to a totally different theory.
I like this one. Aliens.
Not aliens. The actual theory is that it is a angry client,
defendant.
Angry defendant would be the right way to put it, aka the mob.
In Detroit.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Chuck was
a prosecutor.
He was a prosecutor, and so according to some people, it's entirely possible that he was prosecuting somebody who didn't appreciate him prosecuting them, and they figured out where Chuck was, and they followed and unfortunately, because she was in the wrong place at the wrong time, Lana, out onto the water. They figured out where their boat was. They threw her overboard
after making her strip naked.
Because
she's hot, you know. So
and
why
then
not?
Took him to his torture party.
Why it got to be him?
Because she was never a prosecutor.
She wasn't. But
we don't know what she did.
She worked for the city of Detroit doing law. I don't believe that
the city of Detroit prosecutes a lot of people.
But she's not working for the prosecutor's office.
Who's she working for?
She's working for the city of Detroit. I get the feeling that it was more of mundane stuff,
contracts and stuff like that.
You know.
Okay, you can argue that it's Lana's fault all you want, Devin. The point of the matter is
somebody was mad at one
theory.
Of them. Got it.
Is asinine.
Oh yeah, it's bad.
Because it is hard enough to track somebody down on land, let it alone when they're out on the water speeding along in a boat.
There's a lot easier ways to find somebody. That's for sure.
And also get a hold of them.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, this is...
Frankly, if Chuck sees defendant number 5 over there on a boat going, pull over, I gotta get on your ship, he's obviously not going to be like, okay, sure.
Hey, I totally recognize that dude. Yeah, he's
a good guy.
I tried to send him away for 5 years. Let's let him on board and give him a shot of vodka.
Yeah, I'm sure. There was no hard feelings.
That doesn't work. So... I really feel like that one doesn't have any basis other than it sounds cool, and that's a rogue wave. So this theory, according to me, by the way, I made this up because I'm combining a whole bunch of stuff that's related to the case, is I'm looking, and this all comes from, Lana is obviously had to have been naked before she went in the water.
Well,
let's say that
I'm not 100% convinced about that.
Really. I feel like she probably would not have been going commando. Mm-hmm. I mean, at the least, I would have expected she'd have some bathing suit on. But so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to explain why she's naked. And so what I'm thinking is that if it is crappy weather and they're hitting Big Chop, she gets soaked by a wave. Whether they run through spray and she's had too much, or there's a rogue wave that hits her, she says, hey, Chuck, can you take the wheel? I'm going to go down below. I'm going to change my clothes so I'm not freezing to death. He's like, sure, no problem, honey, whatever. Something else happens. Either she hears Chuck in distress or the boat's going all wonky and she realizes nobody's at the pilot or at the pilot's wheel. Of course, when an emergency happens and you're naked, what do? You don't stop to put your clothes on. You go to take care of the emergency. It's why your mom told you to always make sure you're wearing clean underwear in case you go to the hospital, because you never know when that's going to happen.
Yeah.
The point is, whatever then happens from there. But that's the only way that I can justify or make sense of why she would have been naked before she went in the water.
Yeah.
Is that she had to have had a good reason to take her clothes off in the first place. And when you're on a boat and you get soaked and it's friggin' cold, you change into dry clothes. That's the only thing that I can come up with. No matter how much you two try to tell me she was going commando.
Proposal. She says, hey, babe, I just got soaked. take the wheel. I gotta go change. He says, that's an invitation if I ever heard one.
He's a dude.
Right? She goes down, gets naked. He wanders down and is like, hey, babe, what's up? And she's like, what are you doing? Somebody is supposed to be driving the ship. She runs up to try to drive the ship and just thrown overboard.
And then the Kraken grabs her.
And he's drunk, and he goes overboard, and, the rest is history.
Here's the only problem I have with that.
It's an invitation if I ever heard one.
Yeah. It is.
It is an invitation for sure, but...
Nothing's an invitation. Let's be clear about that.
Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, that's right. Let's be correct here. If she had really totally gotten drenched, the first thing that would have come off was her watch, because she would have wanted to dry that off.
Good point.
Yeah.
Damn good point.
And so, I'm not totally sure that I buy into that or not. I still like the Christian pirates who made her strip before she walked the plank.
Because that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally does.
I still like the cigarette smuggling Canadians, but...
I still like the Al-Qaeda connection, although even that's not quite believable.
Yeah, I mean...
I think people just screw up and fall overboard. Well, it happens all the time.
But that's the thing with this story, is that people screw up and fall overboard all the time, but when it's two of them, one of whom is reported to have been so competent and so aware of how things should be done, it really makes me question every theory. I mean, we've gone through a lot of theories.
Well,
we've talked about for an hour about theories.
I mean, it's hard for me because that assumes that Chuck is the one who went overboard.
It is.
Because every time we say, yeah, but she really knew what she was doing, it's like, yeah, but accidents happen. And if she was the one who went overboard, he may have, been a little trained, but that
he obviously didn't have the indoctrination that she did.
Right, he didn't grow up around it. And, again, I know I reference this all the time, every time we talk about boat mysteries and stuff like that.
Are you going to talk about cruise ship?
Well, a little bit. I mean, there are a lot of mysteries that I don't really want to cover because I think that person just went overboard and they're cruise ship related. Yeah. And people are always like, oh, no, that person couldn't possibly have gone overboard. And it's like, no, people go overboard all the time. And I know that sounds really insensitive. I know that sounds horrible, but it is true.
That's why
people
they have these
go
things
overboard.
They have these things on sailboats and boats and stuff that are called safety straps.
Yeah.
So when you're on deck, you got this strap on you, so you won't fall overboard.
You will not go overboard.
If you do go overboard, at least you've got this rope to help yourself, stay attached to your boat. Maybe get back on board.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that was always dangerous. Until we got into the modern motor power boat age, is that sailors used to get washed over in storms all the time.
I mean, it just happens, and I know that sounds awful, and I know that it's hard to accept because it's, I guess it's easier somehow to think, well, I got abducted or he murdered her. But the fact of the matter is, people go overboard, and then people make bad decisions to get their loved ones back, and it just happens.
Yeah, there is a popular theory out there about this one, is that Chuck murdered her, whether accidentally or not, and that he actually survived and he's actually living under a false identity somewhere.
That's silly.
Well, it is a little silly, but the supporting evidence is this. I'm not saying this is true because I doubt it very, very much. But supporting evidence is that his family was not all that excited about going out and searching for him, unlike her family, unlike Lana's family. And they were a little too quick to get him declared legally dead.
So let me address that.
And again, I'm not buying this theory.
So I'll actually address the thing that happened that has drawn a little bit of internet scorn against his family. Yeah. Is that what comes out is that somebody came to his family and said, "Hey, I've got a helicopter. I'll go search for your son. I'll let you use it to go search for your son. And all you have to do is pay for the cost of fuel."
Which was how much?
Well, helicopter fuel isn't cheap. It's more than it costs per gallon to put it in your car. I know that.
Oh, yeah.
And that is, I can understand why his family's like, I don't think I can pay for that.
It might be his family.
And that always, people always say, well, obviously they're hiding something because they didn't want to just pour everything they had into the search. aviation fuel is not cheap.
Well, more than that, I mean, not only do you think it's the cost of the helicopter, I mean, it's just, they may just be very pragmatic.
Or they may be very private, and they just don't want to be out in the limelight.
They might be afraid of heights, even. I mean, I don't know, but...
I get where you're going with that, but I just mean they may not want to just be out on the boat. They just want to stay together and see what happens and let the professionals do their job.
There's that, and also I don't know exactly when this person with the chopper approached them, and if that was like a week or two after. Do you know when it was?
I think it was within a week or so. Yeah. Within the week.
It might have been. I mean, generally speaking, if somebody...
The Coast Guard was already searching in helicopters.
Yeah, they were already searching a lot.
For free.
And, if a week has gone by, or even several days have gone by, and there's no sign of them, it's like, well, kind of,
It's a little too late.
Yeah, time to stick a fork in it, really. Hate to say it, but yeah.
Yeah, so I personally, I don't have a preferred theory on this one, because... I feel like it could be a bajillion different things.
I like the killer rabbit theory.
I think my preferred theory is, as jaded and awful as it sounds, is some sort of accident. I don't think there was an intention either way. I think they both went over, and it's just...
What happened?
What happened.
Pretty much. I think so, too.
All right.
Yeah, what about foul play? Let me see. Foul play.
No.
Oh, yeah, no.
Okay,
no.
Well, if you want to see any of the links that we have available for the research that we did, we will put up some of that on the website, of course, as we always do. That website is thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. We are available in a lot of different places. You can, of course, stream or download from the website itself. We're on iTunes, so if you use iTunes, do take the time to subscribe, leave us a rating, and a review, positive preferably. But if you've got issues, please, something that's bothering you, put it in a forum where we can have a conversation, because you can't have a conversation in a comment on iTunes. Send us an email. But we're available on most of the streaming services. The one that comes to mind at the moment is Google Play, because that's where we're getting a whole bunch of new listeners from.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what about the Twitter? Are we on the Twitter?
We are on the Twitter. We're Thinking Sideways without the G in the middle. Devin is quite busy on that.
Right now.
Yeah, you guys don't know this, but she's constantly on her phone.
We are on Facebook. We have the Facebook page and the Facebook group. So we're always busy on that. There's a lot of activity there, which is a lot of fun.
Yep.
We have a subreddit, which is r/Thinking Sideways. Is it /?
Just Thinking Sideways.
Thinking Sideways. Okay, we're just taking.
If
R.
you use Reddit,
I no longer use ours, so it's just Thinking Sideways.
Yep.
We do, as we said, have the email address if you've got concerns or feedback, or you've got questions or suggestions, or just generally want to talk with us. Send us an email. That is thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com.
We get a lot of emails, and we will respond to every single one of them, but it might take us a couple of days.
Sometimes it gets a little busy. We're all a little busy at work these days, so it's when you can find time, we do find time.
But we always
do.
Yeah.
We always do. If you want to support the show, we would appreciate that, but it is by no means a requirement. We do appreciate everybody who has contributed to the show. There's a number of ways to do that. We've got merchandise available. There's a link for that on the website for t-shirts, phone cases, mugs, stickers, all that kind of stuff. If you're into that, it's all there. If you want to make a donation to the show, you can do that in two forms. You can go and use PayPal to make a one-time donation. Or if you want to make a ongoing contribution, you can do that via Patreon. Patreon is a reoccurring basis. It's based on every episode. You say how much you want to give per, and every time we put an episode, that's what you're going to get charged for.
And
so
by the way, if we throw up a short or something like that, we don't.
Oh yeah, no, not everything is. We put up interviews and stuff like that. We never charge for that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But be aware, it is an ongoing basis.
Yeah.
That is the only other thing. There's nothing else that I can think of that we need to do at this point.
We've covered all the bases.
Yep. So I think we're going to float out of here. So
if you are Chuck, give us a call or send us an email.
Or if you are a Canadian cigarette smuggling pirate, I'd like to talk to you.
Or if you're the Al-Qaeda guy that's responsible for all this, I want to talk to you too.
Lana!
Hey everybody! Today's episode is brought to you by Audible.com. Audible is a leading provider of spoken audio information and entertainment. Listen to audiobooks wherever and whenever you want. Get a free audiobook of your choice at audiblepodcast.com/thinking sideways.
Thinking Sideways.
I don't understand.
Does not compute.
You never know.
Insufficient data to formulate a reply.
What?
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Hey, what's up? It's Thinking Sideways, the podcast. I'm Devin, joined as usual, I guess, by
Joe.
And Steve.
Yeah, we're usual. And this week, I'm kind of breaking the rules a little bit. If you're an avid listener or, like, you've been in discussions with us on, like, Reddit or email, we say this a lot, too. We try to do exceptions, I think. The Elisa Lam one and the MH370. And I think those are the only two that we've done so far.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I don't know, we have a lot of episodes. I don't know if you guys know. So I did not go through every single one, but I'm pretty sure it's just been those two. But this mystery, it was too good to pass up. And it was one that I literally just learned about within the last, like, week. And we're going to talk about it.
Where did you learn about it?
The internet.
The internet.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to talk about the disappearance, quote unquote disappearance, of Lisanne Froon and Chris Kremers. They're Dutch names, so it's hard.
Yeah, I'm not positive on the pronunciation there.
It is Lisanne and Chris, so I'm going to call them by their first names. They are 22 and 21 years old, respectively. And they are young women from the Netherlands. They're Dutch. They had saved up for about 6 months to travel from the Netherlands to Panama. To spend a couple months there, they traveled, like, kind of did tourist stuff for a couple weeks, and then their plan was to go to this small town in kind of the, like, almost the northern border, actually, of Panama, and teach for a couple weeks.
Do we know what they were teaching?
No.
Okay. I didn't ever see it.
Maybe English, maybe Spanish. I can't remember. It was a language, I think, of some kind.
Okay.
Maybe Dutch?
Maybe Dutch. Probably not, but maybe. I mean, it seems like the, use for Dutch in Panama and kind of like...
Probably kind of minimal.
In rural Panama.
Yeah, I was going to say, if this was, along the ports or something, it would totally make sense. But if you're in a rural area, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But hard saying.
Yeah. So they traveled to this small town called Boquete. Is that how you would say that?
I believe,
Boquete?
yeah.
I'm going to go with Boquete.
Boquete?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I don't have
I have no idea either. They were going to stay with a host family, which is the way that a lot of young travelers do that. They settled in. They went to check in to, like, work. They're like, we're here. We're ready to work. It's, I think, Sunday or who knows what day it is. I don't remember. But... We're gonna start working, and the person who ran that school, who's an American woman, said, "Oh no, you can't work until next week. You have a week to kill."
They had an entire week?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought they had less than time than that.
Well, what the hell? Go play Tourista for a while longer.
Yeah, so it turns out actually Lisanne was, like, very upset about that. She even reportedly, like, wrote in her diary about how mad she was that they couldn't start teaching. I don't know if that was, she just, like, wanted to get on with it, if she was annoyed that I guess maybe some communication had gone awry. I don't know why she was so mad about it.
Maybe she had mapped out her trip very carefully. Maybe she wanted to do this.
Maybe she was a planner like that.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, it meant, this area is very jungle-filled. It's, like, very close to the Continental Divide. And so it meant they had a week to kill. And the next day, they contacted a guy in Panama, apparently. I've never been. But in Panama, apparently you can hire a tour guide for just about anything, especially trails in the area. So one of the things they did was they booked a tour guide for a trail. They booked a tour guide to take them on this trail called The Pianist, which is Depending on the source, either a very easy few hours walk through lush jungle with a huge payoff view at the divide at the top of the mountains up there, or a super treacherous path riddled with hard terrain and is like really dangerous to do. I've done a lot of research on this, and as far as I can tell, it seems like the path up the mountain to the divide is like pretty easy. I mean, I wouldn't say that, it's just like a stroll.
It's probably
not
uphill.
Paved. It's uphill. It is, definitely uphill, but it's not like a climb. You don't have to be, a super experienced hiker. Yeah, it's like a lot of trails in Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
There's the easy part and the not so easy part.
Yeah, and then the easy part, or the not easy part, is on the other side of the divide. It seems like I've watched a lot of videos of people like walking around in this area, and it does seem like, I guess if it was like flooded, if it was super wet and soggy, maybe it would be dangerous or hard to navigate. But on April 1st, which is when these girls were in the area, it was beautiful. It was like really nice weather and really sunny and nice. And so, anyways.
So a tornado didn't get them.
No.
Long story short. But anyway,
So and
their plan, I presume, was just to go to the top, look around, and come back the easy way again.
Well, and that's kind of a question, honestly, is they hired this guide for April 2nd in the morning who was going to take them on the trail. They arranged for that and everything, and then on the 1st, April 1st, at 11 a.m., they just decided, you know what, let's just do that trail today, I guess, as far as anyone can tell.
Mm.
Which is odd to me, I'll be honest. It's a little weird that you would, book a guide to take you on a trail and then just hike it the day before.
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
No. Anyways, let's get back to the story. I've, kind of just talked for a little bit there. So at about 11 a.m. on April 1st, Lisanne and Chris took off to walk with Lisanne's backpack with bottled water, and it doesn't seem like they had
power bars,
snacks, or really anything. It just
really?
seems like they did have bottles of water, and they had their phones and their cameras, and a little money, and they had searched for directions to the trail from where they were on their computers before they left their homestay. And there are some reports that they had brunch that morning at a cafe before they left. It's not totally clear if that happened or not. It's also not clear if it's true or not that the reports of 2 young Dutch gentlemen joining them for that meal was true. But what is certain is that it's uncertain how they got from where they were staying in their homestay to the trailhead. I guess it was a bit of you would have had to like take a taxi or a bus or something like that.
So that was a long walk then? Long hike from there? Yeah. Maybe the 2 Dutch guys gave them a ride.
That is thrown around.
Is this part of Panama really popular with Dutch people?
I guess. I don't know. Like, these were Dutch men that, like, they apparently didn't actually know. Like, they weren't friends with them. They just approached them and, like, had heard that they were speaking Dutch, and they were like, oh, we're from the Netherlands, too. Let's talk.
I was going to say, yeah, if you're in a foreign country, you're in a little restaurant, and you overhear a language that you know, you automatically gravitate to that.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, whenever I travel, I always meet people and wind up hanging out with them.
Right.
So, yeah.
The weather, this happened in 2014. I guess I haven't actually set the dates out or anything like that. April 1st, 2014. And
so
the
not
weather.
Long ago.
So not that long ago.
That's why she admitted she was breaking the rules earlier.
Super breaking the rules. So the weather on the 1st of April, 2014, was highs in the 90s Fahrenheit, which is 30s Celsius, and lows in the kind of low 70s, low 20s Celsius. Nice weather.
Yeah, I
mean,
know.
Probably humid.
Low 90s and humid for hiking. I don't know. I probably would like. I suppose if it was a real easy trail. I just don't like. I'm not a hot weather person.
Sure, it's not as though it was freezing cold and pouring rain and all that stuff.
Yeah,
wasn't terrible conditions.
Yeah, they had with them a camera. It was like a Canon or a Nikon. I can't remember. It was a Canon. And they had their phones, and as you'd imagine, they took a couple photos in these like really picturesque locations. They're gorgeous photos.
Yeah, I've seen some of the photos too, and they look like they're having a great time. Also.
I would be, yeah. It's beautiful out there.
Oh yeah.
And so they took photos of each other, so they don't appear together in any photos. It's just two girls out hiking. You say, you take a picture of me. Okay, now I'll take a picture of you. It's, so there's a picture of each of them at the kind of summit at the Continental Divide, which is beautiful. And then there are some pictures that are kind of more like candid hiking shots of Chris that Lisanne presumably took. I think it was her camera, in fact. And they show Chris not wearing a backpack, so we presume that Lisanne was wearing the backpack as well. But there's like from behind shots, or like Chris standing by a waterfall and like posing, and none of those photos exist of Lisanne. They're all of Chris.
So we know who liked to use the camera more than the other.
Yeah, or it was her camera, so you would just kind of assume if she was probably walking behind Chris and she was just snapping photos.
Oh yeah, candid photos. You're absolutely right. That
Some of them
sense.
do kind of look more like, hey Chris, turn around, click, pose for the picture. Then on April 2nd, when the girls failed to appear at their appointment with the local guide, he got a little
angry, and he made some entries in his diary about how angry he was.
I don't think he was angry. The impression I have is that he actually, he was first concerned. Yeah. So he went to the house where they were homestaying and said, well, did they oversleep? Did they decide to cancel and not tell me what's going on? And the family that they were supposed to be staying with said, oh, we haven't seen them. They left yesterday and we haven't seen them since.
Not a good start.
Not a great start. The family quickly reported the girls missing, although they attempted to report them missing like 2 times before they were officially reported missing. They were officially reported missing, I think it was like at 9 p.m. So that obviously wasn't ideal. But apparently as soon as they were reported missing, it was reported that the how do you say it? Panamanian, thank you. Authorities, they sent out huge search teams, and search and rescuers immediately took to the jungle to start searching. It turns out that might not be true. It turns out that the brother of the guide that they had hired, who's a farmer, I think that's the connection, heard about it and got some local volunteer farmers and and they started searching. But it turns out that the official search and rescue effort didn't start for a while.
So wait. So maybe I didn't ever catch that in the research. They went out on the 1st. People figured out they were missing on the morning of the 2nd, and eventually their the status of being missing was finally acknowledged. But only a farmer went out to look for him?
A farmer and some local volunteers.
Well,
in the jungle.
This is a little dinky town. There's probably not like a huge, search and rescue team available right there.
Thank you. Yeah, that makes okay.
That seems likely. I don't know.
A lot of sense.
It depends on where you read it.
Completely forgot the context.
Either it was, because the Panamanian authorities didn't really care. That's how it's framed for a lot of people. But I think probably Joe's correct. It's just that that wasn't available.
Yeah, it probably takes a while for the alarms to really start going off. I mean, people can get lost for a few days in the jungle. It's not necessarily going to be fatal because
especially
it's nice,
in those conditions.
Yeah, nice weather and everything, So even if they've fallen down and broken a leg, for example, they're not going to die of exposure in a couple of days' time, or thirst, or starvation, or anything else. They're going to get bit by a lot of bugs. That's not going to be pleasant.
Well, but they're it's very easy and obvious to just make the observation that they're totally greenhorns. They totally have no idea what they're doing because they're not from that area. To me, it would seem like stupid decisions.
Yeah, probably if you're talking about the searchers versus the searchers, they're locals. They probably know the area pretty well, but still, it's not. You need a lot of people to go searching the jungle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
Now that I remember the map of it, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, they probably just like headed out the trail to see if they were like sitting by the trail with a broken leg or something like that.
On April 7th, the search was on in earnest. That's like a whole week after they had been reported missing.
Oy.
And on April 8th, in fact, the parents of both of the girls flew in from the Netherlands and came with a couple Dutch detectives and 12 trained Dutch dogs.
12 trained Dutch dogs. Wow.
7 were search and rescue dogs, and 5 were cadaver dogs.
So these detectives, were they like official popo or private eyes or what?
They were official.
Official, huh?
Yeah. I guess it turns out the Netherlands like super cares about their citizens or something.
No messing around about it.
Yeah, I guess not. That or it was like a slow crime week.
Yeah, no doubt, yeah.
The detectives were like, we got to do something. Like, that seems like it's interesting. Let's go do that.
Yeah, what the hell? You get to go to Panama for free.
Oh, man, no. So the dogs would get these, what's called hits, right? When they react to the smell of the people they're looking for. But it turns out that they were all places that the volunteers had searched previously, on the first couple of nights. The first night that the searchers spent out in the middle of the night was April 8th, sending up white flares and making noises and, having lights and all that stuff, hoping that the girls would either hear and see these things and call out or signal back or make their way to them. That's a fairly typical, I think, search and rescue technique in the jungle like that.
Yeah, when it's that vast of an area, it's an easy way to get somebody's attention.
Yeah, the girls didn't show. Eventually the search was scaled back. The search party spent 5 consecutive nights out in the jungle doing that same kind of behavior of, flares and all that stuff. And the girls were lost, presumed dead.
I think these two really would have benefited from a book. This book is called Alone in the Wild by Marcus Duke. Actually, the full title is Alone in the Wild, The Essentials of Wilderness Survival.
Yeah, that sounds like that would have been helpful.
Yeah.
I might need to get this.
Yeah, I think...
Is it on Audible?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I can look it up if you want, but, probably is.
Click, yeah.
Click. Oh, look, it's on Audible!
Oh, yeah!
Weird!
Awesome.
So... As you know, Audible is our sponsor for this episode, and if you would like to know how to survive in the wilderness alone, this would be a really good find for you. You can go to audiblepodcast.com/thinkingsideways and start your free trial and get a free download book. It's a free 30-day trial and a free audiobook. If for whatever reason this doesn't float your boat or whatever, I think they have over 150,000 titles.
And growing.
Every day. And a no questions asked return policy if for whatever reason you don't like the book. Mm-hmm. So I would say that's pretty worth it. This would help a lot of people. And I'm pretty sure that Audible's got an app so you can put it on your phone or your tablet or wherever. So, you don't have to be online to read it. You don't have to stream it. Yeah, which is awesome. That's great.
Get it, stream it, download it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
so
right there.
Sounds like a tagline there.
Yeah, well, it's kind of cool when I'm lost in the woods or the wilderness or whatever. I like to be able to pull out my tablet and kill some time by reading something. Yeah. Or watching a movie, but or listening to an Audible book. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So audiblepodcast.com/thinkingsideways. Get it for free now. Today. You never know when you might get lost in the woods. That's right.
I don't think I'd take my tablet into the woods.
Your phone, though, maybe.
Yeah, no, I could see that.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Speaking of taking cell phones into the woods, now, did I remember correctly, they had cell phones, right?
So this is where the quotation marks around disappearance come in. On June 13th, 44 days after the search was pretty much just, gone, a man and his wife were planting, I think it was rice, but it could have been some other kind of crop in their fields by a river, and decided, well, it's hot. Let's go take a dip in the river to cool down. So they did. And as they were swimming around, they looked over and saw something very curious in the bush over there. It was a blue backpack, which you don't know because you haven't seen the pictures and you don't know my brain, but is the color of the backpack that Lisanne was carrying when the girls disappeared on April 1st.
Now, is this, I have not figured out if this was right on the edge of the river, like it had floated down the river and wound up just sort of lodged in some stuff and the river receded a little bit, or was it above the river?
It was above the river in a bush, significantly above, but
several
on the
feet
river,
out of the water.
Yeah, but on the river path.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, the water flow between April and June probably dropped quite a bit, so it's quite possible.
And there was a lot of in the 44 days in between. There was a lot of flash flooding that was happening and things like that. So it's pretty much just generally accepted that the backpack floated there. Yeah. And ended up there in the water